All right, we are back. And by we, I mean, on today's show, we have Mr. Christian Drapeau. I hope I'm saying that right. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Perfect.
Okay, good. So Christian Drapeau of STEMREGEN. For those of you that have been a part of this podcast for some time, I'm sure you've been belabored by the dissemination of information around what is STEMREGEN. But today, I wanted to make sure that we hear it directly from Christian, who developed this and is continuing to develop lots of things that I've been using in my life. And before you decide to continue watching or not, I definitely want you all to understand that we could take this episode into many different rabbit holes, but I want to try to stay as sort of high level as possible because we're probably going to go deep in many other courses and things like that online. So today we're going to kind of stay high level and do realize that there is lots of research that Christian can provide and probably will provide. But a lot of what I want to discuss is some of my own anecdotal testimonies, if you will. And then here are some of the other things that Christian is doing outside of maybe STEMREGEN and what his real everyday life looks like. So welcome to Simply Walk the Talk. Our bodies and minds adapt to what we do most of the time. If you want to change your body and mind, you must change what it is you do most of the time. This podcast explores all things health, wellness, fitness, lifestyle, and biohacking. Stay tuned as we explore various thoughts, methods, and experiences from a multitude of conversations between our interesting guests and experts through many fields of work. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Simply walk the talk. Simply walk the talk. Christian, welcome to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So before we started recording, you kind of mentioned to me that, we're doing our usual check-in. Hey, how's it going? Oh, it's going well. Both of us have been just burning the candle at both ends. And we were both kind of talking about how if you keep pushing, at some point, your body will find a way to slow you down. And I know we were talking about the throat, and like I was mentioning to you that I had lost my voice, and having STEMREGEN, believe it or not, was one of the things that I used to recover from that. Because me without a voice, Josh without a voice is no Josh, right?
Of course.
So a lot of what I do comes from, I got a call there. I need to put that on. There we go. So a lot of what I do is about me expressing myself with my voice. So there will be more things I'll talk about, but let's start with what you're up to. What's going on?
I mean, there's so many. There's an explosion here with STEMREGEN. So if I put this in the big perspective, it's a discovery that was made in 2001, namely that stem cells are the repair system of the body. We proposed that in the scientific literature in 2001, around the same time when we discovered the first plant that I was working at the time that works as a stem cell mobilizer. So at that time, I remember, I still have the memory fresh, engraved in my mind. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm thinking, my God, we're putting an end to disease. And here we are 25 years later and still struggling and battling to be able to bring this concept to the community, to the medical community, but the community in general, because indeed it is a profound discovery, something about the human body that for a number of reasons linked to the very process of scientific discovery, it is only recently that we discovered the human body as a repair system. And I've been talking about this for 25 years, and it's only over the past 2 years that now, like, it's really sinking in. And now it's really exploding. And I'm just, traveling like crazy, having these conversations with a lot of great people. I mean, you're at the top of the list, but I'm doing so much of that.
Yeah.
So indeed, traveled to Scottsdale today, just because I had a bunch of meeting that started all in the world of sports. So we're having like a lot of activity regarding the application of STEMREGEN, releasing your own stem cells with anything that has to do with physical activity.
Okay. So this is going to be a really good lead into what I want to discuss, because when I spoke to you before, and I do think it's worth going over just ever so quickly what STEM regen is for those who don't know. It's like maybe we've attracted a few people who've never heard of it, even though they maybe watch or listen to the show. Let's talk about what that is. But then because I don't want to forget this, I want to make sure and talk about like some of the things that I'm hearing when I've now started talking about how it's working for me. But if you don't mind, let's go over very briefly what is STEM regen.
Okay. So I will let you lead me if you want to go deeper into the details, because I've talked about this many times. I think we talked about this last time on your show. So to not go back there in the details or the history of these discoveries, but in essence, stem regen release is a blend of plant extracts that we have documented over the years act as stem cell mobilizers, which means you consume them by mouth. They're plant extracts, they're not stem cells. You take them by mouth, and within 1, 2, 3 hours, we can quantify a significant release of stem cells from the bone marrow. So an increase in the number of stem cells in circulation, and there is a direct link between how many stem cells you have in your bloodstream and your body's ability to repair. So if you have an injury, it can be a true injury, or it can be micro traumas that are coming from just like an intense session at the gym, or intense climbing, hiking, whatever it is. So you have lots of micro traumas. They're all signaling for repair. If you can put more stem cells in circulation at that time when your tissues are screaming for repair, stem cells are attracted to these areas, and then you basically just really accelerate recovery. So in essence, that's what stem regen is. It's a stem cell mobilizers boosting your natural innate ability to repair.
I love that. Thank you for that, because that is the perfect lead into my next comment. Okay. So understanding what you just mentioned should get a number of people thinking in different branches, right? And sort of like a Venn diagram. From that statement comes several questions usually. Obviously, there's going to be some people who just completely shut off and go, whatever, and they don't want to hear it, right? But maybe those are the people, when they do at some point in their life get into a situation in which they really need an intervention, they might come back to this conversation. Okay. But for those that are still with us, whenever I've talked about STEM regen, I always like to preface it with the fact that I've been to a number of fitness and wellness conventions, and I've seen you guys there before. I've also seen some of the campaigns that have been on social media. And I'll have to admit, when I first saw it, I thought, this is bullshit. Okay. I'll be honest with you. Now, and I'm only saying this because I want to have full transparency on what this means, because like I think the best biohackers and health optimization coaches out there, we should be a little bit skeptical. We should have a healthy amount of skepticism, because that's what curiosity is to me. I'm a very curious person. So when my sort of snake oil uh, radar kind of was going off, I kind of got excited. That was when I had the opportunity to actually try it for the first time. And the only way I got to wanting to try it is because I talked to a few of the people that you guys have worked with, and they told me their experience. So then I go, okay, so let me hear their experience. Let me look into it a little bit more. Now let me try it. But then I tried it at a point in time when, to be totally honest with you, I didn't really recognize that there was anything I needed it for, right? If a person has they twist their ankle or they hurt their knee, it's an obvious like, oh, I need to take something for this. But I generally walk around, knock on wood, I generally walk around feeling pretty healthy and without pain. Doesn't mean that I don't have systemic inflammation though. So when I first started taking it, this is when I started to realize that my blood markers, because I get tested 3 or 4 times a year for various different programs that I'm on. So I get a chance to see what's happening with my A1C numbers. I get a chance to see what's happening with my inflammation markers. I get a chance to see what my gut is feeling like when I'm doing stool sample testing and things like that. And when I really only changed one or two things, my numbers were getting better. It's it's anecdotal, but it's enough for me to kind of go,
Mhm.
"Oh, what happens if I really dive into doing this properly?" So that's when I started to take the full array of your products. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I guess I'm saying all this to say is that the person that's watching and listening right now, I get it. Trust me, I get it. And I know Christian gets it as well. There's going to be a healthy amount of skepticism here. And for those of you that have said to me, and you know who you are if you're listening and watching right now, but you said to me, why would I spend that much money on a bunch of plant extracts? Well, because it works, right?
It
what,
does.
what do you say to that?
I mean, I'll repeat exactly what you said. If I was not doing what I'm doing right now, and somebody would tell me that I have a bunch of plants that will everything that I say that will trigger your stem cells, I would be beyond skeptical. I would probably just pass. I would not even listen to it. I understand. I get it. Um, this is 20 some years of organic development. Like it's not like at some point I saw stem cells is a cool thing. Let's tap into stem cells. Let's do something in stem cells. Let's be the first one to do something. It's nothing of this. It was trying to understand how this blue-green algae that I was working with in starting in 1995, so early 2000, how was it working in the body? Because we really credibly had cases of people who had reversed multiple sclerosis, diabetes, heart disease, COPD. I mean, they're just anecdotals. They're not studies. But I mean, you can tell when somebody comes and tell you their story, it's a genuine story. Some of these, I got the medical records and I could see this product was doing things that we could not explain. So we just tried to explain and understand how this product was working. We discovered that it was triggering the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. And that's really how it all started and how we developed the whole science that we have today. I can tell you the number of times that I sat with scientists who came to discuss with me with the simple aim. They were very confident. They were going to put holes, like dig holes into my science, and at the end show that all of this was bullcrap. And and at the end, they all leave kind of thinking, "Wow, this is like something completely new." Uh, a few weeks ago, I had a call with somebody. She's a scientist. And the person who organized the call told me, she says, well, she read some of your stuff or heard some of it because she had not yet read it. And she said, and already like she sees a bunch of holes into your science. So I said, okay, bring it on. Let's have that call. So we have the call. And then she calls back this person. The person came back to me and told me, well, she has changed her mind. Right now, she's thinking like, there are few dietary supplements out there that have really the science behind them. And now she thinks that STEMREGEN really has it. So now we're starting collaboration in clinical trials. I have seen this
Wow.
100 times over the years. The science is solid. Bring it on. We can go through it. But what you brought in also is something very important, very interesting, which is that it would be nice if it was just a story, solid story, but just a story. The question is it real? Like if you now apply it, like you take the product and you really put it to the test, and do you see the effects? And that is where, we really close that loop is that, yeah, almost every time that people try it, they see the effect. Like I mentioned, I'm here in Scottsdale. I'm meeting with a group of professional athletes who have experienced the product, skeptical at first, totally skeptical, but they had no choice. So an injury was involved and they needed to repair fast. They've heard that the product can help. So what do they have to lose? So they tried the product, and at the end, they were just like so surprised of how it speeded up the recovery. So now they want to hear more about it. There you go. So like those events is at they are happening like every week, and
Yeah.
it's simply because the product delivers what we're claiming that it does. And at the end, all I would say to your listeners for 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 an hour, Put aside all the skepticism, the everything that you can have in your brain that tells this can be real, and just listen to really the data and the common sense. Because at the end of the day, the message is so simple. Okay, you have an infection. What happens? Your immune system kicks in. Your immune cells go to the place where there's the infection. They kill the bacteria. They heal your infection. Nobody would like bat it an eyelash at all that science. Like it's obvious. It's everybody understands it and lives with it. Now
Right.
take a step back. Whenever you have an injury, that injury triggers the release of stem cells from the bone marrow, calls stem cells to that area. Stem cells are attracted to an injury, like an immune cells is attracted to an infection. Stem cells migrate into the injury, repair the tissue. It's your repair system. How many stem cells you have in your blood circulation, just like how many immune cells you have in your bloodstream, determines the strength of your immune response or your repair response. It is that simple. When we put more stem
Mm,
cells in circulation, we just allow your body to repair more effectively. It is just so simple and so much
yeah.
common sense. That's what it is.
Here's the thing. I think it's so simple that it's what uh, contributes to the resistance of some people believing that it works. And also, there's this sort of double-edged sword in that it's not as expensive as the IV treatments that
Mm-hmm.
most people would, you know, all of a sudden just have full faith in because it's people in lab coats and they're injecting you with something. It could be saline solution and they would think it works. We call that the placebo effect, right? But I feel like with some of these holistic and allopathic and plant medicines, people have the nocebo effect, as in they just
Uh-huh.
automatically think it doesn't work, right? And the reason why I call it a double-edged sword from my perspective is like I see that it's not nearly as expensive as the surgery route or the injection route, the invasive route, but it's much more expensive than the over-the-counter route. And so it's like almost like in this gray area in which I would just suggest for people to just try it. And if you're ever in a situation in which you're in a lot of pain and you feel like going to the doctor or taking that very problematic medication, because let's just be honest, when you listen to a commercial on TV, you hear about a medication, you can't help but notice all, at least I listen to them, all of the side effects, right? And some of them as much as, violent diarrhea or even death, right? And so if taking a bunch of quote unquote plant extracts have even just the slightest bit of potential to help you in your situation, but doesn't even run close to like killing you or giving you explosive diarrhea, then like it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. And I'll give you a quick example from my perspective. So I'm an athlete, and for most of my life, I've played basketball at a very high level. I've run at a very high level. I've done like CrossFit, hybrid athlete, if you will. And I know as I've gotten older that it's harder for me to recover. That's just, it is what it is, right? And after reading your book, because I have read your book, loved it, thought it was really good. It was a really good introduction to all this. So for those of you who want to learn more, read Christian's book. I had it up on the screen earlier, but it's called "Cracking the Stem Cell Code." Um, when I read that, I realized that like, oh, okay, it makes sense. As we get older, we typically don't have as many stem cells in circulation. So at one point, I had literally consulted on doing a full body stem cell makeover. Now, I'm sure you know how much that costs or the ballpark. It's expensive. I don't have deep pockets. So I had to think, how can I do this in a more cost effective way? Somehow, miraculously, I came across STEMREGEN. That's why I was curious because I was like, okay, this is certainly less expensive than the other route, but let's see if there's anything that moves the needle. So right around the time when I started taking it, I happened to get this situation where I have plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendinopathy. In the past, whenever I like don't play basketball for a long period of time, and then I go on the court and play at a very high level, it's almost like I'm crippling when I wake up the next morning. Like it's like hard to walk. right? And that's because of the extreme inflammation around my Achilles. And of course, there's a bunch of things I could do to like try to get out of that, but it usually lingers for about 3 weeks. I went on a very specific protocol with STEMREGEN, and in 3 days, I was playing basketball again. 3
Typical.
days.
Typical.
Now, I definitely have to admit that there was other things that I did along with that, but that is the whole point. It's not about this STEMREGEN and what you've created. It's not about it being the be all end all, not a panacea, but it at least allows your body to optimize the repair system. And if you treat your body as a repair system, just like any other system, if you want to optimize it, then you want to start with the cleanest slate and then just build from that. And I feel like that's what STEMREGEN has done for me. And when I also incorporate PEMF, I incorporate grounding, I incorporate gua sha, I incorporate a clean diet, do all these things and take a full protocol. And I double up on my my release capsules until it dissipated. Few days later, I'm like, wow, I still got capsules. I'm not going to completely go off of them, but I went back to a maintenance dose. And so I would love for you to touch on that because I'm sure you've heard stories like this before, but touch on that, please.
Of course. I mean, what we need to, and I'm just going to repeat a little bit of what I said before. Stem cells are your repair system. They are, it's a little bit like you cannot make collagen without the key amino acids in collagen, like hydroxyproline. If you don't have these amino acids, your body cannot make collagen. If you don't have stem cells, your tissues cannot repair. When a cell has died because of damage and it needs to be replaced, it doesn't come out of thin air. It's a stem cell that migrates in the tissue and replaces the cell that has been destroyed. Stem cells are the unit, like the building blocks of repair. So if there's anything that you do that stimulates repair, you talked about PMF, red lights, everything else that you did, they leverage stem cells. And that's interesting because it was a concept a few years ago, and now it's coming up in the scientific literature. PMF that has been used for a long time for joint and muscle injury and for recovery. Well, if you apply PMF, it will pull stem cells into an area. It will stimulate stem cells' ability to migrate into the tissue. It will stimulate their proliferation, and it will stimulate their differentiation in becoming muscle, tendon, bones, ligaments, whatever is in a joint. I mean, to the point that if you take stem cells in a test tube and you apply PMF to the test tube, the stem cells starts to differentiate into cells of ligament, joints, muscles, everything that you have in a joint. So you take red lights. Red lights are good for repair. Red lights have been shown to stimulate proliferation of stem cells, mitochondrial biogenesis, which is essential when you get one stem cell that starts to multiply to become 100,000 tissue cells. This is a massive expansion in your need for mitochondrial biogenesis. So red lights play a key role in this process. So red light is actually leveraging stem cells in this process of repair. So you start to look at all these different modalities, vibration plates, hyperbaric chamber. They all work by leveraging stem cells. So now you come and then you just add more stem cells to the sauce, to the whole stew, so that your other technologies now can leverage more stem cells into action. That is why these synergies are working so well. So you stated it very clearly. It's not just STEMREGEN, but it's you're using other modalities, but because you have added STEMREGEN release, because we have added more stem cells into the whole mix, now all these technologies have a greater impact. Now, in our studies, we don't use the other technologies. Not because I'm saying it's better not to, not at all, quite the contrary, but it's just because that's what science is about. Science you want to show what is this doing, isolating everything else. What is just doing? But we don't want you to isolate it like this in your life. I want you to use all of them because what you want is optimal quality of life. So at the end of the day, for an individual, it's about stacking. But for me, from research, it's about isolating it because the question is, what is the contribution of that technology in that repair process? That is
Mm.
why we all of our science is as an isolated product. But of course, the end game here is to stack it with a lot of other things.
I'm so glad you touched on that, because that's very, I think this is what happens in many different well-meaning companies that are trying to do what they can, because it's like, if you want to be taken seriously, then, like, as a product, as a company, then you somehow have to be a part of the game, the quote unquote the game. That game is you need to be peer reviewed, or at least people want to see peer reviews, people want to see
Mhm.
white papers, people want to see articles, people want to see blah 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 blah. But sometimes it's those very powerful anecdotal stories that we hear from our loved ones that it almost doesn't matter, right? Like, if you got someone on their deathbed and there was anything that you watched a person come from the brink of death to now any sense of being better, you're going to think twice about what was that. You don't need a white paper for that. You don't need a study for that. And we know that it costs money and takes a lot of time. But when, like, another example, at Vivo Barefoot, I'm a huge fan of what we do at Vivo. There was a study in which they asked a group of students to wear Vivo Barefoot shoes for 80% of their time for about 6 months, doing nothing other than just living their life 80% of the time, but just changing their shoes. They measured their foot strength at the beginning of the study and then measured it again at the end of the study. They found a collective 57.4% increase in foot strength at the end of that study by doing nothing other than just changing their shoes.
Mhm.
Well, that's akin to what you guys are doing in the lab by saying, here's what it does on its own by itself.
Correct.
Because when I think of that study at Vivo, I think, well, what would happen if you actually did get toe spacers? You did do foot exercises. You did work out in it. You did do some of the stretches that you're supposed to do and leverage all these other things. How much more would you have gotten? But
Correct.
we know that most people probably won't do that because they want the easy way out. They don't want to do the hard work.
They want the easy way out, but also keep in mind that we have been. I mean, this is like it's a delicate conversation, and I would say, just for a minute, let's be open to the whole landscape of what is studies and clinical trials. It's a it's a part of it is a brainwashing of the general population to think that for something to work, you need to reach a certain standard of scientific demonstration that normally would cost you $10 million to achieve. So, right there, there is a filter that is put in there. The only people that can qualify are pharma. And that has been put into people's brain. That's the only, it's a gold standard. That's what makes the demonstration. It's funny because a lot of these drugs will work for maybe, like, if it works for 30% of the people, it's a successful drug. What if you fall in the 70%? It doesn't work for you. But in your mind, it's a
Mm.
good drug. It's demonstrated by a gold standard study. And now you go to something that may not have all the same scientific support in terms of studies, but you get a lot of people who report the benefits after using them. But scientifically, we would say that has less value. Between you and I, does it really have less value?
Mm-mm.
There's a filter that has been put, and we just need to be cognizant of it. We do not have the $10 million to put into research to meet that burden. But we have done bits and pieces, and every bits and pieces really show that the product does what we claim that the product does. And at the end of the day, you're totally right. We have done double-blind studies. We are doing right now studies on heart failure, COPD, liver failure, not because we want to show that the product is good for these conditions. What we want to show is to say the human body has an innate repair system. That repair system declines as we age. Past 30 years of age, it has declined enough that now you start to feel the burn of not having enough stem cells in circulation. If you can put more stem cells in circulation, you suddenly can repair like you used to, let's say 10, 20 years ago. That's it. And here's what it means for the heart an organ that is not known to repair. Here's what it means for the lungs that is not known to repair. And right now we have studies where we have great results showing what it can do for the heart. So they're not all double-blind studies, but they're very open label, but they're clinical trials. I mean, if you have stable chronic congestive heart failure, where nothing can do anything for you for a number of years, and now we just insert a bunch of plants that trigger the release of your own stem cells, and 6 months later, you have normal heart function, even if it's not double blind. I mean, it's compelling. So we're
Yeah.
doing a number of those studies, but at the end of the day, it is amazing how we need to do those studies for people who claim to be real. You need to have all those studies. It's part of a I'm not saying they're not valuable. I'm not saying they don't have their place. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is that they're part of a global brainwashing, because you can have something that works without having all those studies. But at the end of the day, when we talk to many doctors, many clinicians, and we show those studies, it's almost like they want to see those studies, but what really speaks to them is a case. So as we document one case with medical records and we show the before and after, now the doctor thinks, oh, I have 10 patients like that. That is the trigger for a lot of people, is what you just talked about. Somebody has great results and just say, okay, let me give it a try. So we need to do the whole gamut of it. So we are doing the clinical trials. It's expensive. It's long. We're doing them. But I can tell you by experience, it is not what moves people. What moves people is a story of
Yep.
somebody who comes and says, here's what happened to me. And that story is credible. And people say, okay, let me see what it can do for me. Because at the end of the day, a study is great, but a study is what happened in those 1,000 people. It's not in you. Whether it's going
Mm.
to work in you, you can only know by trying it. So at
I
the end of the
completely agree.
day, you can say, okay, let's skip this study. Let's see what it can do for me. Because right now the science is there. Your stem cells are your repair system. If you can put more stem cells in circulation, your body will utilize them for repair. So the only way to see what it can mean in your life is to give it a try.
Mm. On top of that, and thank you for explaining that, because I've seen it in my day to day with my clients, and I must say, like, you guys have worked with me in a way that I am just beyond grateful for, and I know my clients are, and my community is as well, because I've been able to, thanks to you guys, I've been able to gift a few of this product to a few of my clients. One of my clients has Parkinson's. Another client has chronic migraines and was dealing with a rotator cuff issue. Another one of my friends was dealing with an elbow thing. And with all of them, it's really interesting because I talk to them a little bit about it. I send them some content I may have shared. Whatever. I'll send them some things, and then, some of them, like, maybe they'll order it because they trust in what I'm saying and I'm not, bullshitting. But then others, you just kind of don't hear anything about it. And so what I'll do is go, hey, I got a bottle for you, but I want you to at least research it before I just give it to you. Right. Because otherwise, I know this is going to sit on a shelf somewhere, and I'd rather give it to someone who could really use this. And then I usually wait to see if they talk about it. And so sometimes I'll check in and say, hey, so have you still been taking it? Not like, is your issue healed or whatever, but then they'll go, yeah, I've been taking it, and it's just dawned on me that, like, I haven't really felt anything like I had before. And then, or some of them will say, like, because obviously, like, Parkinson's is one that is going to take some time. But I remember, one day when I asked him, like, hey, are you still taking it? He's like, yeah. I don't know. I can't put my finger on what's changed, but things have certainly changed. And so that's when I go, okay, I smile, because whether he's saying that to make me feel good, because I always preface it by saying, listen, by the way, this is not my company, right? I have no skin in the game on this. Like, I think this might work for you. It helped me in a few dire situations, so maybe it'll help you. And they go, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like, there's definitely something that has changed. So then we can have the discussion of, okay, now are you willing to invest in your health? Because now you go and buy it. I can give you a
Mhm.
discount code, you can save a little bit of money. But take it, because you never know what can happen. And so my question to you would be, let's say someone heard what I just said and heard some of the things you just said, and they finally decide, all right, Josh, enough with it. Christian, okay, enough. I want to get it. What would you suggest for the average person to do in terms of like how much time on average would you expect them to see some kind of change? And what are some things that you've noticed that contributes to that level of change that people can feel? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, is it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's first start by saying it's not a drug, meaning a drug is like a painkiller. You take it and 30 minutes later, okay, the pain is gone. This is a drug effect. What we're
Good call.
talking about here is a physiological effect. It's your repair system. Your repair system has been in action at work since the day you're born. So we're not flipping a switch to go from nothing to something like a painkiller would do if you want. It's more we're just upregulating something that has always been there in your life. So the change is much more subtle in how you experience it. So you need to pay attention. So what you described there is so common. People sometimes don't even see the benefits, and when they look back and they say, "Oh, but it's true. When I used to do this kind of activity, I always had this after, and now I realize it's not there." It's that subtle. And now, if you really have something to repair, then yeah, you will see the repair, and then it will be more obvious. But
Right.
oftentimes it shows up into smaller things. So if somebody wants to start, the thing to keep in mind is that, and that's a whole other layer to the whole story, because we talk about stem cells for repair, but when there's nothing to repair in the body, stem cells are still playing an absolutely vital role. Like without stem cells, you would not live more than, let's say, 4 to 6 months. So, so stem cells replace the cells that are being lost every day. So you lose cells every day, and now stem cell research has shown this is a real phenomenon in the human body. You have a new skin every month, a new liver every 2, 3 years. Even the heart that was believed to not renew past 8, 10 years of age. Now we know in reality, turnover rate in the heart is about 1% a year. Every single organ of the body is constantly in the process of tissue turnover. So if you lose cells every day, to stay healthy, you need to replace cells every day. It's like your bank account. If you want to keep $100 in your bank account, well, you need to have your income needs to match your expenses. If one day your expenses are greater than your income, you'll start to have a deficit. The number of stem cells decline as we age, and there's a time in our lives we don't have enough stem cells to offset cellular loss. That's when all kinds of degenerative process are starting. It may take 20 years to show up as a problem, but it has started in the body. And that's what we see. Past, let's say, 35, 40 years of age, we're still strong, we're still healthy, but man, we don't repair as well. We start to see like A1C is start to slowly climbing, blood pressure is changing. A lot of little things are changing. It's because you can't repair as well as we used to. So you cannot reverse that overnight. So when you start to put more stem cells in circulation, now you're giving your body the ability to now start to slowly repair these things. So the best way to start taking the product, I say, it would be upfront loading. So front loading. So basically, give back for a month to your body, like flood it with stem cells so that it can really do a lot of repair so that you can take care of all the little things before you may start to see the benefits where you really want to see them. Stem cell will not follow where your mind is telling where you want them to go. They'll follow signals. So if there's a place in your body where you want more repair, make that area signal. If you say it's my knee, well, take the product. The number of stem cells will increase within 2, 3 hours. So at the 2 hour time point, squat, do something that will activate that area, will make it signal. And that stem cells will see that signal and they will migrate in that area. But I would say if you can afford it, 2 capsules 3 times a day for the first month. I would be flabbergasted if you come back and you say, I haven't seen anything. You may not have seen the full recovery. You may not have seen the full extent of what you would like to see because your body will utilize these stem cells for many things. But you will have seen something and then you determine, okay, let's do this for another month. And after that, you just fall back to maintenance, 2 capsules a day, which is a wave of an average of about 10 million new stem cells circulating in your bloodstream. The product doesn't do anything for you. It's your stem cells. So include with it good nutrition, good fat diet for good cell membrane, good anti-inflammatory diet with a lot of colors in your diet, a lot of polyphenols, curcumin, ginger, stuff like this. We have a product called Release for that specific purpose. Reducing systemic inflammation, it will make your stem cells work better. Move so that you support good blood circulation. Your stem cells need that to reach where they need to go. Everything that you know that is healthy, do it on top of it. Give it a chance. But at the end, the product will put more stem cells in circulation. You need that, and then do everything else to support this whole process.
That was very well put, very well said. That itself could be just clipped as like one piece of content, because you did sort of wrap it up in a nice little bow. And what's interesting is because when you're talking about front loading, and I know there's different ways of doing this, so I just was curious on how you would explain it. And so it sounds like the front loading for you is 6 capsules a day broken up in 2 capsule increments with at least 2 hours in between. Is that about right?
I would say 6. Ideally, not at least. Ideally 6 hours, because the residence time of stem cells in your bloodstream is roughly about 1 hour to 6 hours. An average
Okay.
of about 1 to 2 hours. So you take the product, you start to have this wave of stem cells. They will migrate wherever they're called, but they're constantly called into the bone marrow as normal physiology. So they're released, they go everywhere, they're called to tissues, and as they circulate back to the bone marrow, they are recaptured in the bone marrow. So you release them, that wave goes out, 6 hours later, you're back to baseline.
I got it. So if a person's trying to just figure out how they would set their day up, it sounds like they would take 2 capsules when they wake up,
Mm-hmm.
empty stomach, wait a few hours. Let's just say 4 hours to kind of keep the math easy.
Correct.
Then take it again, another 2 capsules,
Mm-hmm.
wait another 4 hours, and then take it again, right? Sometime close to bed, because we want this also circulating while we're asleep, right?
Correct.
Great. So you would do that for a period of time until either, I would assume, until you feel like things are working better, your repair system's working better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or continue on that until said
Correct.
experience. And then let's say, what if someone is like, okay, I feel amazing, I don't have anything going. Do they just all of a sudden completely get off of it? Do they keep it around for emergency situations? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. I mean, that becomes a personal decision. Let me just describe the landscape of the information that I have on this. I grew up over the past 25 years, like really diving in all this concept, developing the concept, publishing on the concept. So for me, my understanding and where the world in which I live, you lose cells every day. So if you want to keep the health that you have today for decades to come, offset that cellular loss every day. So for me, it's a daily process. I take this product every day. I've done so for the past 25 years. So, but now STEMREGEN Release is a much more potent than other products that I had over the years. You know, this started 25 years ago. So with the efficiency of STEMREGEN Release that we have today, if 2 capsules on average releases 10 million stem cells, and you do this for a month, that means you release 300 million of your own stem cells. If it's worth going to South America and pay 10 grand for 100 million stem cells, but you can release 300 million of your own in a month, you could say this is by itself is worth something. So you could do just 1 month and call it good. All we see is that, but again, oftentimes people go and get an injection, and like 30% of the time they see nothing out of it. Like
And
they
they have to
feel
go
that it's
back.
a waste. Yeah, and they need to go back, exactly. So somewhere all these numbers kind of jive together. The idea is that you want to do this at first, maybe for longer. And when you do 2 capsules 3 times a day, that's 900 million stem cells that you have released during that month. So you see, there's a cumulative benefit that is obtained. So my vision of it is I do it every day. But somebody could very well say, Well, maybe I do this like twice a year. I do 300 million of my own stem cells twice a year, and let's call that good. I would say, for me, if I'm to express ideally what I think should be, you get into your 30s, do this once or twice a year. You get into your 40s, do this 3 to 6 times a year. You're getting into your 50s, starts to do this every day as a common practice to keep the health that you have today for decades to come. Whenever there's something that is out of the ordinary to repair, a problem that is flaring up, an injury, something that is happening, boost the amount around that time frame. Normally, scientifically, when you get an injury or something that is damaged, I'm not talking about degenerative disease that have been there for a decade or two. I'm talking about something that has just appeared. The repair process is roughly 4 to 6 weeks. So it's not something that you have to drag for a long time. And you've seen it. You talked about it, like
Yep.
your plantar fasciitis. If you don't do anything, you cannot go back on the court for at least 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a normal process.
Yep.
Now you bring that to 3 days. That's what I mean when I say you don't have to do this for a long time. You you do front loading. So you something happens. You do 2 capsules 3 times a day. Sometimes a week is enough. Like we work with a lot of surgeons right now. And I like working with surgeons because they see this so quickly. Because a patient after a surgery, within 3 weeks, the surgery has repaired. I'm not saying they're completely normal, but the surgery itself has repaired. Now you put them on STEMREGEN, sometimes in 5 days, they're back and they're having like normal movement, normal mobility. They see this so quickly, and it's not a miracle. It's nothing out of ordinary. You could say I'm skeptical, but I would say put that aside. Just think about everything that we've talked about right now. A surgery, nothing in your body will call for repair more than an open wound.
Yeah.
Biologically, it's a threat to your survival. It screams for stem cells. So the moment you put more stem cells in circulation, stem cells migrate in that area and they become muscle, skin, microvasculature, nerve, whatever is needed in that tissue. If you don't have stem cells, it's the local fibroblast. It's survival. Local fibroblasts will kick in and you will have a scar. You will have scarrings inside your tissue that will reduce your mobility and will make that recovery much longer. So now boost the ability of your normal tissue to repair as they should, and you repair so much faster. I mean, it is so simple when you look at the mechanism of it, the physiological process behind what I'm describing here is basic science.
Wow. Yeah, I could go on and on and on along those lines. I just will mention this one really quick thing and then we can start wrapping up because I know you've got plenty to do. There was I recently went and did I experienced a small amount of rhabdomyolysis. I'm sure you're
Uh-huh.
familiar with it, right? For
Yep.
anybody that's ever experienced rhabdo, if you've experienced it once, they say that you're more inclined to run a risk of experiencing it again. So I know what it feels like, and I know all the symptoms. And anyway, I was like, oh man, here we go. I'm gonna be unable to move my arms properly for a week or two, and similar situation. Now, because I have a lot of product, okay, thanks to you guys, and by the way, I do order my own product too. It's just that you guys have also helped me to be able to gift out to other people, and then also I kind of have it as a part of my toolkit in case something happens. Well, I ended up doing 4 capsules twice a day. Okay, so
Beautiful.
that's 8 instead of 6, and 4 days later, I'm working out again, doing a similar workout to what I did that got me in there in the first place, which was pull-ups, right?
Mhm.
So again, the only thing I didn't experience that I did in the past when I had rhabdo was I didn't have the Dr. Pepper urine, the discoloration. But my arms were swollen to where you couldn't even see the veins in my arms, and I could barely do a bicep curl with no weight, let alone weight. And then 4 days later, I'm doing a pull-up workout right here in my apartment. So it's like that's enough for me to say there's something there. I don't know if that story is good enough for other people, but what I would do is say for any of you, reach out to me. I'll do my best. I can't give everyone my stash because I need to have some for myself. But if you really are curious and you just aren't sure if you're going to have the investment, the budget to be able to invest, hit me up. I'll see what I can do to try to help out because I do want to help. And I think there is a lot to this. And it's one of those situations where you just need to try it. You guys have been gracious enough to give me a discount code for people. So I'll leave all that information in the show notes. You guys check it out. If you happen to be at Eudaimonia or any of these wellness conferences that I like to go to, and I know Christian and STEMREGEN shows up at, come by and say hi. I swear to you, Christian is one of the sweetest, most awesome people ever. If you're lucky enough to get to be able to have a conversation with him, I think you'll be a better person for it.
Thank you.
Christian, is there anything else that I've missed that you want to talk about or say before we wrap up?
No, we've talked about a lot of things. I think it was a good opportunity to clarify a lot of stuff and I think really provide the message. I mean, I'll repeat just what we talked about before. There's only way to know if this is real. There's only way to know if releasing your own stem cells can have an effect in your life. I can describe what happened to Joe and Bob, but it doesn't mean that it will happen to you. And if it did not work for somebody, it doesn't mean that it will be the same for you. So there's only really one way to see if this is going to do something for you is just to try, just to see releasing your own stem cells. And all I could say is that the rate of repurchase that we have, the rate of return customers, the stories that we have is the testament to the fact that the product actually works.
Bingo. And I will say this one little thing to let a little bit of the cat out of the bag. I won't say too much on it, but stay tuned because yours truly and STEMREGEN are going to be doing some really cool things together. And trust me, I would not put my name behind something like this if it wasn't truly doing something for me. Okay. So I want you all to hear that, rewind it if you need to. It's true. You will see a lot more content coming out. And I hope many of you share your stories because I'd like to hear if it's working for you. If it's not, let's find a way to add in some other things to stack on top of it. But at the end of the day, you are in control of your repair system. And fortunately, we have products like STEMREGEN to help out. Christian, thank you for your time. I'll list all the ways that people can keep track of what you guys are doing over there. And until next time, I guess next time we'll be in Eudaimonia, right?
That's right.
So thank you again for your time. Good luck with everything else you have going on, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Walk the talk, talking facts. Move like me, but I move a little fast. Make my move, here to last. Fasten these seatbelts, I'm coming past. Take care of me, longevity. Hack my biology, better believe. Walking the talk, soul, mind, and body connected. Better come give us a listen. Better come give us a minute or two. Open the box up, we giving you tools. Giving your engine the fuel that it needs. Breathing into it, it's autoimmune. Make a connection, we're stronger than two. Making us one of a kind of a few. Work on the mind, but show me your moves. If you do what you say, you know what to do. Yeah.
Walk the